Hello, everyone. Welcome to Emmy After Dark. I am Emmy, and this is the show where we talk about everything paranormal. And it is St. Patrick's Day today. So, to everybody wearing green, happy St. Patrick's Day. For everybody not wearing green, do you know why to wear green? So, I can tell you because I had to Google it. Um, So, the reason why you wear green on St. Patrick's Day is to become invisible to mischievous leprechauns who, according to folklore, pinch anyone not wearing green. So, I did not know that green makes you invisible to leprechauns. I just thought it was like, a tradition that we kind of like made up. But did everybody wear green today? So I'm not going to talk about leprechauns tonight. I was going to go into the deep bellies of Reddit paranormal and go through a couple of the Reddit paranormal stories. I know that, it's St. Patrick's Day. I do have one personal story about a leprechaun, but we can do leprechauns more with Gelf if he's available later this week. So, my personal leprechaun story is I had a patient, of course, and we were just talking about the general area of where we were. And he was like, there's gold in the hills. And I was like, well, that's very cliche, right? Because, you know, typical saying. But, anyways, he was saying that he actually went gold hunting in the local hills and mountains, and that he saw a leprechaun and it led him to gold. I know it's a crazy story. And he says that he actually took pictures of it. So he showed me a couple pictures, and he really had to point out what I was looking at, because what I thought I was looking at looked like a bunch of clover plants um under a unique lighting, I should say. It was a unique picture. So he had to outline this figure of a leprechaun to show me that he actually took a picture of a leprechaun. He had to do it with all of his photos. I did not see him again, so I am not sure if there are leprechauns on the West Coast, but if they are, they lead you to gold. So, anyways, let's get back to Reddit paranormal and talk about and go through some stories. Um, Here's an interesting story, and I like stories like these. Have you ever gotten a sign from a dead loved one? Do you think this is one? And before we get started, I have a personal, interesting story. So, my mother recently passed in 2024, or I say recent, but it's been a couple years, but it's always going to be recent to me. And she was the one who got me started on the paranormal. She is the one that got me started in the ghost stories and believing in the other side and being spiritual and believing in, let's say, angels and the devil, and not necessarily like an organized religion. She is the one to start the paranormal curiosity in me. So, when she passed away, or before she passed away, during when I was growing up, she would say, "You'll know when I pass away, and I'll come visit you." So I thought my mom would haunt me when she passed away. Well, I knew when she passed away during the church hour, which is perfect for her. Um, Peaceful passing. But then I waited, and it wasn't just me that was waiting for a sign. It was also my big sister, because she also believed. So we're waiting for something, anything, just an orb, a TV, a flicker, a thought, a whisper, something moving, something. I always thought that I would see her like in the mornings, waking me up and singing Miss America and um Miss America and Miss American Pie. That's how she used to wake me up, is singing to me. Um, so we thought that she was going to make her grand paranormal afterlife ghostly appearance, and she didn't. And so we waited for like months, and finally, well, not finally, but we asked each other, and it was my sister. She was like, "Hey, have you heard from mom?" And I'm like, "No. Have you heard from mom?" And she's like, "No. What the fluff? Am I not good enough to haunt?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would want that too." So my sister was the most one offended, um, that my mother didn't haunt us, you know. But it honestly makes us believe that there's actually a heaven, and that's where she is now because she didn't come back to us. But anyway, let me read this story for you guys. It is a sad one, so trigger alert. It is about a passing. Um, a sudden passing, it looks like. It says, "My boyfriend passed away 2 weeks ago. I was going to marry him. I have been begging for a sign, and I think I got one. For some reason, I felt like it was going to be at a thrift store since items are one of a kind. I went to the store where him and I gotten me a blue dress. I was mindlessly walking through racks when I touched something teal and felt it was the one. Had this urge to try it on without even looking at the size. It turns out it's a full fitting dress that turned out to be just my size. It fits me exactly, almost as if it was made for me. I have a pear-shaped body, so those are quite rare. Usually top is too loose, bottom is too tight. Bought it and later learned the dress came 3 days after his death. Furthermore, I saw that it's made in Turkey. I am Turkish international student studying in the US. It isn't that common for clothes made in Turkey to end up in the US. It's usually Bangladesh, Vietnam, Cambodia, etc. I don't know. Oh, so what do you guys think? Do you guys think it was a sign from the other side? Some of the comments think so. So this commenter said, "It doesn't matter was it a sign or not, in my opinion. If it's a sign from him, he is happy, very happy you received it and liked it. On top of that, though, of him shows how much you love him. Shows also how much he loved you picking a perfect dress. And if it's not a sign, then you have a nice dress that reminds you of him, so you can still have a piece of him close, something that reminds you of him. And a perfect fit dress is a plus too. I think it's better to think like this because you can't really know was a sign or not really. All depends on how you see it and what you choose to believe. Nobody else can tell you because they're not you. And a sign is meant for you to understand and decide what you believe." I think that was a perfect story and perfect comment. Okay, what else do we got? So, oh, here is, it looks like an interesting post. Strange things happening after finding object on beach. And there's like 117 comments on this. Okay, so it says, "Hey guys, I'm not sure if this is the right place to post this, but I was wondering if anyone visited Warden Point, Isle of Sheppey, UK, a little over a month ago. Just at the beginning of the beach, there is a stretch of large rocks that break up the waves just before you get the actual beach. About a month ago, my wife and I decided to check out the old World War II bunkers littering the coastline of Warden Point. And for anyone looking for some good exploration and fossil hunting, it's really good. However, on the way back to the car, coming back to the large rocks, we were playing around, jumping over the stones and trying not to fall, when my wife noticed a bunch of sticks and rope near an opening of a few of these big rocks. When she looked down, she saw this stone child's head. Looks like it's been broken off a garden ornament. Anyway, it looked like many people had tried to get it out, and let me tell you, it took us 3 to 4 hours trying to get it out. And since we were a few hours away from home, I couldn't just pop back for stuff to get it out. I eventually got it out by slipping my leg down the hole and picking it up with my foot, and my wife propping it up with a stick, then me taking my jumper off and slipping my arm in to grab it. Does anyone does anyone remember seeing this? And it's basically it looks like a photo of a young child, possibly a girl with a bonnet. It looks like it's made out of cement. Okay, back to the post. I just want to make it clear that I don't believe in anything supernatural and fully believe those sorts of things to be mostly hoaxes and just plain explainable. However, I can't ignore the strange things that have been happening to me and my wife since having this object. This this could be just be my hyper aware of things happening because it's in my mind, but here is the things that happened so far. The hand I used to retrieve the object, I broke my wrist slipping off of a motorway divider. Never broken a bone until now and can send proof. A glass vase we keep on top of the fridge. Been there for years. Fell off when my wife was bending over to get something from under the sink and just missed her head. That's creepy. I woke up a few nights ago and my back door was wide open. I triple check the doors always do the place I live. My washing machine. I have the one where you can open the top mid spin to put socks and stuff in. The top bit has been pressed open at least twice on its own while I've been chilling in my living room, and you really need to press it in. Things missing, then reappearing. My kid has told me that he keeps losing his stuff, and I keeps spawning in random places. I tell him it's grandmother playing with him, but I guess that's just kids forgetting where they put stuff. But it's weird it's happening now. That happened to me this morning, and I'm still looking for my stuff. Um, Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. I'm gonna have to mute you guys. Hey guys, hey Gelf. Oh, Bocce was live and I missed it. Strange things happen when you're going around the twist. Hey, hey, asshole media. Oh, remember Island of the Dolls? I do. I want to go there. Like, I really want to go there and like experience it myself. Island of the Dolls, and see if it really does have a creepy vibe. But the last part of this, it writes, the most concerning thing to me is my wife and I, for a few nights now, have heard the doors opening at night, the bedroom ones and living room. But we have cameras and nothing has opened, just the noise as if someone has opened it and walked through it. Should I just take this thing back or is my anxiety getting to me? So, have you ever taken home an object and everything just goes wrong? I mean, it kind of reminds me of my clown from Mexico that, started, well, maybe started the mirrors moving and, me and my niece naming a certain ghost. And I guess you can't, you know, do that. Name them was probably our worst decision we could have made in that situation. So some of the comments are, might be an offering or just a haunted item. I once took a little statue that I found at a crossroad. I know, dumb idea, but I was young and stumbled upon it. It was pretty, and I thought, why not? Had to dispose of it 2 months later. I recommend disposing of this one as well if things keep happening, as you don't know exactly what's attached to it. That's certainly true. Are we going to send your ex to the island of dolls? This, there are stories of people taking rocks from, I'm going to butcher that, and suffering some evil effects from doing it. It won't stop until the rocks get returned. That is creepy. Ugh. I do believe that there are some cursed objects out there, and I kind of believe that, like, you can basically curse anything. Like, maybe energy is universal. You know what I mean? Let's see what else. Okay, we have a skinwalker story. It says, my skinwalker story. I changed my cousin's name for safety reasons. We were about 4 hours into the, is it Gila National Forest, way past where the gravel roads turn into twine ruts of dust. My cousin Elias had been quiet for an hour, just gripping the wheel of his Tacoma and scanning the tree line. You see that coyote back there? He asked, his voice flat. I hadn't. I'd been messing with the GPS, which had lost our position 10 miles ago. No, why? It was keeping pace with the truck, he said, at 40 miles an hour through the brush. I laughed, but Elias didn't. He grew up on the edge of the Navajo Nation, and he had a specific set of rules for camping that I used to think were just superstitions. Never whistle at night. Never leave scraps outside. If you hear someone calling your name from the dark, don't answer. And side note, a thing about the dark, it's really interesting. When I was in Mexico, my Diaz had a thing about being out in like the back country when the sun set, like when it started, when they started noticing the sun would set, they would get like really, not like anxious or like uppity, but be like, all right, guys, we gotta go. Um, what was her name? Was it Lorena? But they basically said the banshee comes out at night and will take kids, and that's why we had to leave. It might just be a thing that, like, my teens were like, hey, let's go home. It's been long enough. But They were kind of in a little bit of a hurry. Okay, so I'll get back to, don't answer if the dark is calling your name. We set up camp near a dry creek bed. By 10 p.m., the silence was heavy. In the desert, you usually hear something: crickets, the wind, a distant owl. But this was dead silence. Then, from the darkness, just beyond the firelight, I heard it, a voice. It sounded exactly like my mom. Oh, I've heard my mom's voice growing up as a kid, too. Help me, please, I'm stuck. My stomach dropped. My mom was in Albuquerque, 300 miles away. The voice was thin, like a recording played through a broken speaker. It didn't sound like she was in pain. It sounded like someone practicing how to sound like she was in pain. Elias grabbed my forearm, his thumb digging to my skin. Don't look. Don't you dare look. The voice changed. It shifted from my mother to a high pitched, robberly cry, like a wounded dog, and then into a sound I can't describe. It was a wet, clicking noise, like bones being snapped and reset. Something heavy moved through the scrub oak. It didn't sound like four legs. It sounded like a man trying to run on all fours, his limbs hitting the ground with a rhythmic, fleshy thud. Elias reached for his bag and pulled out a small pouch of corn pollen, his knuckles white. He started whispering under his breath, his eyes fixed strictly on the fire. The clicking moved behind our tent. Then a face appeared around the edge of the canvas. It looked like a deer, but the proportions were all wrong. Its neck was too long, and its eyes weren't on the sides of its head like a prey animal. They were in front, forward facing and human, reflecting the orange glow of the embers with a dull, predatory hunger. It didn't attack, it just watched us, mimicking the sound of my breath, perfectly in sync. We sat there until the sun touched the horizon. The moment the light hit the trees, the weight in the air lifted. We didn't pack the tent. We just got in the truck and drove until we hit pavement. When I finally looked at the side of the Tacoma, there were long, oily smears on the passenger door, right where I'd been sitting. It looked like someone had tried to open the door with hands that didn't have any fingernails. The weight of that presence didn't lift when we got into the truck. As Elias keyed the ignition, the Tacoma's headlights cut through the tree line, splashing over a shape that made my lungs seize. It wasn't a coyote. It was a patchwork of fur and pale, stretched skin, crouched in a way no joints should bend. Its eyes caught the high beams, milky human-shaped pupils that didn't blink. Don't look at its face, Elias hissed, throwing the truck into reverse. Focus on the dashboard now. As we peeled away, that thing didn't retreat. It began to run. It swayed in the periphery of a blur of a gray-eyed brown motion weaving through the ponderosa pines. Every time the truck slowed for a bend, we heard the thud, thud, thud of heavy, fleshy palms hitting the dirt right outside the windows. Then came the voice again. This time, it wasn't my mother. It was Elias's own voice, screaming from the truck bed. Stop the truck! I fell out. Please stop. The imitation was perfect. My heart screamed at me to hit the brakes, but Elias gripped my shoulder so hard it bruised. I'm right here, he whispered, his real voice shaking. That's not me. It's mimicking. For 3 miles, the creature matched our speed, its long, spindly limbs clicking against the metal of the truck bed. It was testing us, waiting for a moment of doubt, a slip in our resolve. Elias reached into the center console and pulled out a small leather bound pouch. He didn't open it, he just held it against the windshield. He began a traditional prayer, his voice growing steady and rhythmic, reclaiming the space that the silence had stolen. Suddenly, the clicking stopped. The heavy weight in the truck bed shifted, and we heard a long, frustrated hiss, a sound like a stream escaping a pipe, followed by the fading sound of brush snapping as something retreated deep into the canyon. We didn't stop until we hit the bright, buzzing lights of a 24-hour gas station in Gallup. The fluorescent humming felt like the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Elias finally let go of the steering wheel. His hands were cramped into claws. We got out to inspect the truck, expecting the worst. There were only oily smears, yes. But as the sun began to actually crest the horizon, we saw something else. Stuck in the door handle was a single coarse tuft of white animal hair, and next to it a small, hand-carved turquoise bear fet- fetish that had been hanging from Elias's rear view mirror. It had fallen out during the bumpy ride, wedging itself into the doorframe. In many traditions, turquoise is a stone of protection and healing. The creature hadn't been able to bridge the gap between the window and the door because the small piece of stone and Elias's refusal to acknowledge the monster's power had actually acted like a shield. We sat on the curb drinking scorched gas station coffee, watching the desert turn gold. For the first time in 12 hours, the air felt light. The dead silence was gone, replaced by the mundane, wonderful sound of distant traffic and birds. Elias looked at me and finally cracked a small, weary smile. "We're okay," he said. "The sun's up. It can't follow us into the light." We drove home in the full glory of the morning, the windows down, letting the wind wash away the smell of old fur and wood smoke. We were safe, we were whole, and we knew exactly what rules to never break again. Well, you guys, what you think? They say the same thing about Appalachian Mountains. Don't respond to whistles, to name calls, and don't stray from the path. So, what do you guys think of the would you go camping again? I'm not sure I would. But that's a pretty interesting skinwalker story and really descriptive. Let's see what else we got. I'll probably do another story and then I've got to hit the hay because I have an early day tomorrow. Oh my gosh. Oh, I have to read this Reddit for you. It said, "My dad sent me this today, found in the long locked basement of a rental property he owns. And it is a Ouija board. It looks dirty, and there is a bat, and it's kind of creepy." So, oh, it's not a story, it's just a photo, and people are just complaining about it. Let's see what else we got. Ooh, out of body experience. I am a scientist who discovered she can travel with her mind. All right. Hello, everyone. I want to tell you my story. I come from a very strict religious background and I struggle since childhood to believe in something I could not scientifically prove. I begged God to show himself. I prayed. I studied Christian and scientific books, but nothing incredible happened. So I left the church, the family, all friends in my old life, and I started to study. I got a degree in earth sciences, then a PhD, and a postdoc in geochronology. Through this path, I started to realize that every time was not the constant I believed, and this allowed me to start discussing all dogmas that mainstream sciences were telling me about. From that moment, all my spare time was spent digging in the domain of fringe sciences. I was listening to the Y Files in Jesse Michaels, and one day the miracle that I was so badly waiting for finally happened. That day I was worried for a person I love. I did not hear from him since a couple of days, so I did something that for me was absolutely crazy. I closed myself in a dark and completely silent room. I started to meditate. I then stared at a picture of him, recording all single details of his face. Then I closed my eyes and I imagined a long cable that connected me with him, wherever he was. And then I saw him seated in a room. I saw many details. I felt what he felt. Then I come back with a bizarre tingling feeling all over my skin. And then I got a call from him, and he confirmed everything I saw. All details, even the shape and material of the chair, his position, and what was happening. I really could not know anything about that event. Living this put my life completely upside down. Did I travel with my mind? How was it possible? Now there is nothing I want to do more than understanding how this could have possibly happened, or how this could have been possible. My scientific mind cannot go away from that. I started to exercise with remote viewing, reading books of Ingo Swann, Joe, I'm going to butcher that, McEagle, but yeah, searching for documents from the Stargate project, and so on. I tried to practice in the way most scientifically accurate way my knowledge allow me to, but I want to connect now with people like me. I would like to have a place to exchange stories, techniques, useful material, and progress. So please let me feel less alone in this journey and share with me your stories. Because miracles are only scientific phenomena that we cannot comprehend yet. What do you guys think of that one? Gals, I'd go camping. I'm not scared of Australian creatures. I am. For the record, I am. You've got some very interesting creatures over there. I'm not sure I want to see certain ones. Like the huntsman spider. I'm good. I'm good. Or what is it? Is it a wasp? Yeah, I'm good on your insects. I'm good on, you know, all that stuff. Just as we're scared of humans. True too. I am scared of humans too. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up a little bit early. Jesse, thanks for talking to me offline. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for tuning in. Gals, I'll catch you later. Maybe tomorrow we can um cover some Illuminati stuff. Um, and thank you, Jesse, for bringing that up. Ryan Reynolds and Illuminati. I did do a simple light dive into that, and it's pretty interesting on what it's proposing. So I would love to do that tomorrow night if I have time. If not, we'll have to move it to the next night. But I will be on tomorrow, and we'll talk about some Blake Lively stuff and, maybe some other news that's happening around the world. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good night. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.